Good morning, everyone. So, I'm shaking right now because it's my first time ever standing on TED Talk. So let me start with an introduction first. So my name is Nguyen Tien, or you can call me Tien as people used to. I'm now 27 and I'm working as an influencer and also a full-time mom. Um, how to say, when I was in the university, I've known about TED Talk for the first time, and for me at that time, TED Talk was something so big that only inspiring people will be able to stand on it. So here I am, standing on TED Talk today to share about you guys about my story about infinite limits. I think I'm crossing my limit right now. So, how do you define limits? Maybe for you, it might be your limits. It's that going to a good university, graduate, getting married, and having kids like everyone used to, or follow the path that your parents set for you. But for me, my limits are what, how to say, back then when I was a bit well known during my high school years, people at that time used to call girls like me by hot girls. Okay. Now it sounds kind of ridiculous by this time, but back then, it's the words people use. And they have a stereotype for those girls, like all they do was just to go for photo shooting. They won't focus on their study or and the path that people think we will follow is that we graduate our high school, going for photo shooting, earn money from doing commercials, traveling around, posting picture, and getting lots of like about it. And to be honest, I don't really like that stereotype, and I want to break that. And I want people to know about me as a person who cares about knowledge, who wants to pursue knowledge and know the importance of education. So that's why I choose to go study abroad. So another story is that I have a really normal life before. I mean, I have understanding parents. I everything is just so peaceful for me back then when I was a kid, and sometimes it makes me feel cramped about the safety. By the time I was 16 to 18, I start to, that age was the age that you want to prove yourself as an adult. And I keep wondering to myself, like, when will I stop receiving texts from my parents, like, what time will you be home? Or when will I stop asking for their permission before I do anything? Like, I don't hate doing that, but how to say? There'll be at one point you'll feel like I want to control my own life. I want to have my own decision without asking my parents. And I think going abroad will help me solve that problem. Wait, let's take a break. Um, and then going abroad, it helps, how to say, by the time I decide to go study in Japan, another worry comes. Like, before my family was so oriented and they ready to give the help before I even need it. So I think to myself, like, what if I go to Japan and then if something happen, who will I go to talk, or who will I ask for help? Will I be able to survive without my parents? That's the question I keep asking myself because I was in the comfort zone for so long. But then, going to Japan was my dream, so you already know what my choice is. And so, going abroad helped me to cross my two limits: the stereotypes that people set for girls like me, and the fear of living away from my family. And then, once I did, I feel very good about my decision. And then there was one time I received an email from a girl who is also studying in Japan and working in Japan. She texted me. It was a very long email. She told me that when she first came to Japan, she feels like she couldn't adapt to the country. She couldn't adapt to this life because she has no friends and her family is not here. And she saw my Instagram story. And for how to say, I was not 100% extrovert person. I don't really like to be in the crowd, and how to say, I will never actively talk to a person if I'm in a crowd. And sometimes my mom told me like, go talk to her. Why are you being mm, like so not unfriendly? But I'm really uncomfy when my mom forced me to talk to another person. And my job requires me to meet a lot of people. So at first, I think my limits was that I don't think that I can do photo shooting. I don't think that I can work with a group of people during an event or a photo shoot. But then I choose to think differently. I want to looking at that as a life experience, not as a job that I have to do, that not I'm forced to do it. And then the result was quite interesting. I get to listen to their stories. I can widen my point of view in life. And again, and I start to post more pictures to interact with people on the internet. And then back to the email, okay? Like she told me like when she saw my Instagram stories, she was so impressed by how uh, my life in Japan is so enjoyable. Like we live in the same country, but the way we enjoy life is so different. And she started to follow what I do. She started to go for a walk. She started to go for shopping, for coffee, trying good food. Because before, all she did was to focusing on studying and to do part-time jobs to afford her tuition fee and to send money back home. But sometimes I think to spend time and money to pamper yourself is a need, and you shouldn't feel bad about it. And I think like, what if I still be in my comfort zone, never post anything? I'm still feel comfy with it, but will I be able to help others, to help that girl? No. So I'm very glad that I overcome my uncomfortable, and then yeah, try to do the things I did. And to mention about the things when I go to Japan, I was chosen to be the tourism ambassador of the city that I studied in, and also the first foreigner to become to join a program by government like one day police. You'll be a police for one day to tell people like, please don't use phone when you drive, blah blah blah. But for Japanese people, or you can read on articles and newspaper, Vietnamese in Japan have a stereotype. They all think like they go to Japan to work in the factory or do part-time jobs in restaurants. But Vietnamese, I mean, sadly, we are known for like pocket picking or stealing from supermarket, and I think that's a very bad image for Vietnamese in Japan. And that's the limits Japanese set for Vietnamese people who comes to work in Japan, I think. Mostly, not everyone. But by the achievement I got when I was in Japan, I think I partly tried to cross that limit, to break the limits that Japanese people set for Vietnamese. So yeah, I'm quite proud of that, and I'm still trying a lot to show others my other perspective of a life of an influencer, a KOL. So I I know that all of you guys here are having certain doubts, certain limits. You don't know like what should you do? Can you do that? You will ask yourself that question. But I think rather than standing at one point and asking like, can I do it, and keep wondering, going out, stepping out of your comfort zone might bring how to say, unexpected result, can bring unexpected results. Out there behind the lines might not be bad. It might be a lot more opportunities, or a lot more experience that you could ever experience if you're still be in your comfort zone. And for me, if I can choose again, I would still try to do the thing that I did, and how to say, and it really surprised me. I mean, by the time I was wondering and doubting, I didn't know that going to Japan would bring to me a lot of profit like that. But once I did, I feel very glad. And how to say, so I just want to be here to share my own small stories and want to encourage you guys who are wanting to do something but are stopped by others' criticism or stereotypes. Then don't be afraid, because you guys are so young and so talented. Because I never thought that there will be a seventh grade or secondary school student can stand here on TED Talk. So I'm very impressed by that, and I know that you guys can do many more things that me and a lot more adults cannot do. So just go for what you want, and maybe right now we are thinking infinite limits should be something very big, something like amaze people around you that can make your mama proud. But the truth is, it comes from very small act, and then no one can change or have the ability to change anything after one night. So just take the small steps first, and you'll be amazed by the result it brought. And I think that's the end of my speech, and thank you for listening. Have a great day.